Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this general government meeting here at City Hall. See if I can get my phone turned off so that we don't get that interruption going. This is a general government committee meeting, and we'll be receiving tonight an update from the Humane Society. But first, we need a roll call, please.
Councilmember Dennehy, absent. Councilmember Reed, absent. Councilmember Schmisher,
Here.
Councilmember B. Smith, absent. Councilmember Stein,
Here.
Councilmember Tracy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick,
Here.
Mayor Smith.
Thank you, Cindy. And so we were going to have an update tonight from the Parks and Wildlife, the Colorado Wildlife Officer, Zach Holder, but they have an issue and will not be able to join us tonight. And so with that, we're next on our agenda is the Humane Society update. And Ryan, did you need to say anything first, or are we ready to? So take it away. If it's green.
You still can't hear you. Maybe have it come closer.
Oh, now it's greener.
Oh,
So
okay.
now it works. Okay.
The right kind of green.
Well, I wanted to give you all an update on last year. What happened over at the animal shelter and the numbers in particular, how they play out for the shelter in general, as well as for Canyon City. And I brought a guest with me tonight. This is Jasmine. Jasmine, I forgot, I haven't taken Jasmine to an event like this in quite some time, and I forgot that she cries the entire time. Normally when I take her to school, she never cries because the kids are all over, so she's having a
This
great
is
time.
brilliant tactics while you're asking for money to help the dogs. She's so sad.
She's a good girl. She actually came into the shelter in 2016, I believe. 6 months old puppy from Cotopaxi as a stray. Very sick, Lyme disease. She had everything. You could see her bones. She was scared to death of people. So I took her into foster. We fostered her and got her well, and there was no way Lynn was letting her leave. So we ended up
She's
adopting her.
so sweet.
She's good. Okay, so a little bit about what happened to shelter last year. Like most businesses here in town, well, first of all, I want to welcome the new folks up here. Welcome. But like most businesses here in Canyon City, the shelter was hurt again by COVID. We're going to be hurt again this year. The biggest challenge that we're going to have this year is financially and staffing. We have been unable to staff the shelter now going on 2 years. It's just been incredibly difficult. We went years at the shelter without losing a single employee. And right now it's a challenge. I've had to raise the wage over there twice in the past 4 months. Just to try to compete, because the people that are sitting in front of me that really want to work, I can't afford. And there's an awful lot of people that are sitting in front of me that just plain don't want to work. And it's been hard staffing. So we had to move to this past Monday, we're at appointments only, which is the same way that we were through COVID of last year. It's not ideal. I don't like appointments. You know, I would love people to be able to walk into the animal shelter and just walk around, see the dogs, see the cats and whatnot. But because we're so short-staffed, we have to be by appointments only. And if I can't fix the staffing issue when the kitten season starts in a couple months, I'm probably going to have to modify the hours even more. And when I say we're appointments only, we're still 10 to 4. We're in winter hours right now. We're normally open 10 to 5, so we're only open 1 less hour right now. And if anybody's got any questions, just jump in. Don't wait for me to stop talking, because I tend not to stop talking. Just another thing that happened with the shelter last year was we had COVID. It pretty much wiped out the shelter. We had managers get COVID. We had employees get COVID. We had family members of employees get COVID. So that made us short-staffed even more. And it was just a challenge. Don't hear me crying, I'm not, because I get it. Everybody went through the same thing I did. But I just want to let you know that last year was quite a challenging year for the shelter. This year is going to be challenging for us because I had to cancel our largest fundraiser of the year, the Rescue Runway, for the 3rd year in a row, because we can't pile 250 people into a building at the same time. And we raise $30,000 in less than 4 hours at that event every year. And this is the first year there's no PPP loans, and that saved us the past 2 years. So we didn't lose a penny the past couple of years. So this year is going to be real tough with staffing and with financials, but don't worry, we'll do our very best to end the year where it needs to be. I gave everybody a packet, and there's more information in that packet that you could possibly need. The first document is, it talks about all of Fremont and all of Custer County, and that's what the shelter serves. We serve Fremont County, Canyon City, Custer County, Florence, Williamsburg, Rockville, Cold Creek, West Cliff, and Silver Cliff. We provide services to all those areas. So the first part of that sheet that you're going to be looking at tonight here talks about those areas, and then section B at the very end just talks about Canyon City only numbers. So they're just specific to Canyon City. And that's the only sheet we're going to talk about. The second sheet is just Fremont only, where is it? This one here is just, this is just Canyon City. The numbers for Canyon City by month. And I don't know if you're even interested, Ryan, or anybody, if you want this sent to you on a month-to-month basis. Ryan's not. He's not listening.
Yeah, that'd be great. I am listening.
I mean, if you
at
have no desire, that's okay, but we have this. I mean, I'm happy, to you or to the chief, I have no problem sending it to you guys.
Yeah, if you want to send it to both, that'd be great.
Okay.
The Chamber of Commerce and the Center for the Arts, they send us monthly updates as well.
Very good. I'll do that. So I'll put you guys on the list and I'll start sending. So this is for the entire year. It's just for you folks to review. And the last one, this sheet here this is just my eternal tracking sheet. This talks about where the animals came from, how they came in, and how they left in great detail. But what I did was I broke that down into this sheet here. And very quickly, I won't spend up too much of your time, but the shelter received last year 1,066 live animals. The breakdown, and this is the only time I'm going to break the animals down, is 712 dogs, 330 cats, and 24 others. And an other is anything that's not a cat or a dog. Last year, or 2020 rather, the year before, the shelter received 1,142 live animals. So we saw a decrease of 76 animals last year, which is quite good, because our numbers should be ticking down on a year-to-year basis if we're spay or neutering in the community. They've gone down a lot since I first started here 7 years ago, where we received 1,900 animals in a year. Now we're only getting, a little over 1,000, which is good. So we're doing a good job there. You add in the DOAs, which is, I'm sorry?
Sorry, just because you said we can interrupt and ask questions.
No, absolutely.
Could I ask, do you have an ideal number in mind? Like, is 1,000 kind of where you think it'll end up leveling out, or do you anticipate that it will continue to tick down? Is there kind of a golden number for a community of our size or of Fremont and Custer County size?
There's no golden number, Amy, but the numbers are ticking down exactly where they should be. But I do know animal shelters across the country that I speak to, and they're going the other way. They're actually ticking up. They go down. They tick up. It's like a roller coaster. They're up and down, up and down, up and down. Here, in the 7 years I've been here, I mean, next time I'm here, I can show you a graph where it's just completely going right down. In fact, the first year I was here, the board kind of freaked out, and they said, "Oh my God, are you refusing animals?" I'm like, "No, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the business." But that's what's been working here for 7 years, is the numbers are going down.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So like I said, when you add in the DOAs, which is an animal dead in the arrival, typically a cat or dog hit by a car, we received 1,224 total animals last year compared to 1,293 the year before, so almost a wash from year to year. So 2021 saw a 7% decrease in live animal increase, and that was with a 6% overall decrease when you include the live and the DOAs. So it was kind of a wash from year to year. There really wasn't a lot of change there. Now, how the animals are coming in. The first is something called owner surrender, and that's just if you own a dog or a cat, it's considered owned. We received 236 of the owner surrenders last year. So that made up 22% of all live intakes, versus last year, we received 351, or 31%. So the owner surrenders really went down a lot last year. It was significant. I have never seen this kind of drop in the 7 years I've been here for owner surrenders. So some of that might also be because we really do a good job, like if John, you call us and say, hey, I'm having trouble with my cat, we know what's going on with your cat, we try to talk to you and help you with your cat so you don't have to bring it to the shelter. So that a lot of that could be there as well. Next is resident stray. Turn-in, that's just if you find a cat or a dog, mostly a dog, running loose out there, you'll bring that to the shelter. Last year, we received 395 of those strays. 37% of the live intakes were actually residents bringing in strays. And when I say this first part is all of Fremont and all our Custer counties, every area we serve, these numbers I'm talking about right now. Next is return adoption. If we adopt a dog or a cat to you for whatever reason and it's not working out, you bring it back to us. There'll be 22. Last year, 25 were returned, so that's almost a wash from year to year. And then we have something called transfer in. We will transfer in from other shelters, other rescues, other areas. We brought in 69 animals last year, made up 6% of all live intakes. The previous year, 69 animals again, so that was a complete wash. And then Fremont Custer residents last year accounted for 653 animals, or 61% of all live intakes. So just the residents alone in both of the counties that we provide accounted for 61% of all live intakes. That's a significant number. Now, the animal control officers, which there are in 4 of the areas we serve, and the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department brought in 344 animals last year. So that makes up 32% of all live intakes. Last year, the ACOs and the police and the sheriff brought in 301 animals. So that's it. We saw a 14% increase in ACOs picking up animals in the streets and police as well. Dead on arrival, we just received 158 this year, 151 last year, just a little bit of a 5% increase there. That's how all the animals came in last year. The outcome, first is adoptions. We had a 46% adoption rate last year, so we adopted 493 total animals. Year before, we adopted 540 animals, of 47%, and that 47% was the highest we've seen in my 7 years here. So to do 46, that's the second highest. So we're doing a really good job the past 2 years with adopting animals over there. An owner reclaim is simply you lose your cat, your dog, and you would come to the shelter and you reclaim the animal. We reclaimed 376 total animals last year, 357 dogs, 17 cats, and 2 others. That's a 35% reclaim rate. I'm sorry that she's whining like this the whole time. She can't even see y'all. She's crying. But that's, so 35% of all the animals came in that were strays, if you will, were reclaimed. Year before, we did 364, so that's almost a wash from year to year. But I will say this, the reclaims, and I don't have it on a sheet, we did 33% of those were dogs and 1% cats, and that's typical. Typically, if we get cats in, people don't come in and reclaim them. That just doesn't, I should put her in the car. Okay. And then we have something called transfer out. We transferred out 151 animals, and that's just simply kind of doing what we're doing at transfer in. We're just transferring out animals mostly to rescues, sometimes to other shelters. Excuse me. We have a 14% transfer rate. Last year, we did 222 or 90%, so we transferred out less animals last year than we did the year before.
Could I ask a question about that as well?
Sure.
What would cause you to transfer an animal out?
There's rescue groups out there that maybe they see an animal on site, or we will call them, and we will say that we just got in a one-eyed basset hound, and we know you rescue basset hounds. Would you be interested in adopting or rescuing her? And they would. So when rescue groups come in and take animals from us like this, they're not charged a penny. They get them all for free. Same thing
Gotcha.
with shelters. You know, we work a lot with Max Fund up in Denver. A pretty big shelter up there. We're trying to work on a system where we will take animals from them and they will take animals from us. But it's mostly rescues, especially Soul Dog Rescue over on the Indian Reservation. That's our biggest rescue. They're good. Where are we? Stolen, escaped. That was just 2 cats. We had TNR, which means trap, neuter, release. So we got in a couple feral cats. We get in feral cats all the time, and some of the feral cats, most of the feral cats, we're able to turn into barn cats. Some of them we have to TNR. We only TNR 2 of them last year, none the previous year. I will say that in the 7.5 years I've been here, we've never euthanized a single feral cat that we received. The deaths. So we had 15 animals die in the shelter last year. 6 dogs, 8 cats, and 1 other, versus 34 the previous year. That's significant. You know, that's a 56% less death rate in the shelter. And when I say death, it's just the animal could be euthanized. It could die in the shelter. It could die at the vets. It could die in foster. Those are all those are all the deaths. You know, excuse me, I'm really getting all frogged up over here. I also say this too: if we, let's say a cat is hit by a car and brought into the animal shelter, the cat's doing really bad. We will shoot the cat over to the vet as soon as possible. And if the cat dies at the vet, and we just brought it in two minutes ago, that's counted as a death. Because if the cat survived, we would have counted it as a save. So it only makes sense to do that there. So we had 56% less deaths last year. So our save rate last year was 98.78%. And that's dogs 99.16, cats 98.16, and others 95.45. And the reason the others is not 100, what normally is we had one very sick bunny in foster that passed. So just one death took 5% off because we don't get a lot of others in there. So in 2020, we saw a 97.46, but the 98.78 is the highest save rate we've seen in my 7.5 years. The team is just doing a remarkable job over there saving lives. I mean, to save 99% of all the animals in an open admission animal shelter where you have to take every single animal that's brought to you, you know, the sick, the injured, the young, the old, the cute, the not so cute, 99% is just a remarkable number. Probably one of the, I know it's the highest in Colorado, it's probably one of the highest in the entire country. So now let's talk about Canyon City only stats. So your police department and your animal control officers last year accounted for 164 intakes, or 15% of all live intakes. To break it down, they brought in 146 dogs, 17 cats, and 1 other. The previous year, the unit accounted for 174, or 15%. So you can see from year to year, they're doing about the same job. The residents, the owners brought in 160 animals. That made up 11% of all live intakes. The strays that the residents found, and again, when I say residents too, I want to be clear, like I live, my address is Canyon City, but I live in the county. So if I brought an animal in, my dog would go to the county stats, even though I have a Canyon City address. So the resident strays, like I said, 181, and they brought in 17% of all live intakes. Return adoption, we just saw 9, transfers in 3. That really doesn't affect it all. So in total, the Canyon City residents accounted for 309, or 29% of all live shelter intakes. And again, the ACOs made up 15%. So when you combine those two, they brought in 473 total animals, or Canyon City, total Canyon City made up 44% of all live shelter intakes for the entire year. When you add in the 89 DOAs, it's just 46%. So Canyon City almost accounted for half of all the animals that came in the shelter all last year. And that's it.
So Doug, I do have a question for you, and that's concerning your fundraiser. Why is it that you can't get 250 people into is it because of COVID concern?
Because of COVID, I can't sit 10 people at a table. That's what I was told, because we don't normally hold this event, or we have in 2019 at the Rialto. And it takes 6 months to plan, so the conversations I had were months ago where
Yeah.
I was told, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Now, things may have changed since then, but I can't just, the Rescue Runaway it literally takes 6, 7, 8 months to pull together, so I can't just flip a switch and,
Right.
okay, let's have the Rescue Runaway next month.
Right.
And the other
Understand.
thing is, I go around town and I ask people to donate. Like, I'll walk into Frontier Feeds and they'll write me a check for $500. I don't know, I just feel kind of squirrely about asking people for money right now, because I know how the shelter's doing. I don't know how the local businesses are. But in the best of times, I have no problem walking in and asking people for money, because I know that they're more than happy to give it to the shelter.
Something you might consider that is a larger venue size, and even if the restriction was, you know, on the number of people per table, it's big enough you could spread people out, and it is the new county fairgrounds.
I heard about
Their,
that.
their new
Yeah.
building. I think their capacity is 400 or 500 or something like that. They're still getting going. I don't think they have all their tables or chairs yet, and so there's.
Well, that would be nice, because we sell out for the runway every year. We can only sell so many tickets. I mean, we could sell 300 tickets, 350. I mean, we could just fill that place. Well, I don't know if we could fill it up now, but we could, you know. But it's definitely something we're going to consider.
Okay.
Doug, I'm going to jump in on that. And I understand the time frame is, but I think it might be something worth looking forward to, because just saying, I think a lot of people do want to get out and go to different functions. I've gone to a few, and they're packed. And I don't think you would have any problem with what your previous sales have been for Rescue One Runway. And I think it might be something you might want to look at, you know, for 6-7 months down the road from now. Do it, and, you know, even do it in October. And the fairgrounds is a fantastic place. They just did a big dinner there just last week. It's a fantastic place to go, and I think you'd be surprised. And I think you'll be surprised on how receptive businesses will be right now, because businesses are doing very well in Fremont County.
Are they? You know, I don't walk, I used to just leave the shelter and just walk down Main Street and talk to people and just pop my head in every now and then and say, hey, how's it going and everything. And I'll be honest, I don't do that anymore. You know, I don't know where everybody is on the old COVID thing, so I don't want to push it. And that's what this event here, we sat down several months ago, and I just said, I just don't feel comfortable doing it again next year.
I think you may be surprised.
Okay,
I really do.
thanks. Hey, one more thing, if I will, and I don't, maybe this is something I need to talk to Ryan about, but I know a few years back, and I think John and Ashley might have been the only two here when we talked about it. I talked about an ordinance. I had written an ordinance that, and the reason I had written the ordinance was that, you know, if anything should happen to me, I get hit by a truck tomorrow or something like that. You know, this ordinance just, it's law that what's been happening at the shelter for 7.5 years continues. And that's pretty much it. And it talks in great detail, but in legal terms of how that shelter, and I know we talked about it because I talked with Tony about it a few times now, and I addressed the council once, but it didn't go any further. And I'm just wondering how I start that conversation again, you know, just to, you know, have you folks, you know, consider this.
The way to start the conversation again is get with Ryan, send him the ordinance, in case there's not one in his files. And you know, that you may be able to be scheduled for like a general government meeting or, you know, a vision committee meeting, to come in and talk to us about your vision.
Excellent. I will do that. Okay.
I think I have two more questions. One, I was really curious about how your budget and how the funding works with regard to, is it pretty much static regardless of how many animals you are receiving, in that you have the
Yes,
same?
the contracts are based off of per capita data, the residents we serve, not the amount of animals we receive. So if we only receive 19% of our entire budget is from the municipalities we serve. The rest of the 81% is made up through private donations and grants and things like that. But that 19%, you know, if Canyon gives us, and I don't have the number off the top of my head, I'm just going to say 64. I'm not sure. Let's say it's 64. And they give this to us on January 1st, and for whatever reason, like 2.5 years ago, when we received 73 cats from one house in Canyon City, I can't come here and I could say, hey, guys, we need more money. The contract is what it is.
Sure.
So it just rolls out. But it's typically, animal control contracts are based off of the residents the shelter serves. And that's how we pretty much base the contracts.
I guess my question is, what percentage of your costs are static? I would imagine things like staff and, I don't know if you pay rent or utilities and things like that are probably static, whether you have 1,200 intakes or 1,000 intakes.
Well, it's gone
So-
up a lot. The budget I inherited was $300,000 7.5 years ago, and the budget I wrote for this year is $800. So our revenue's gone up and our expenses have gone up. The expenses have gone up a lot, in large because of the minimum wage here in Colorado has spiked. And I knew we were going to be impacted by that greatly, which we have been. But 800,000 versus 3, that's quite something in 7.5 years, so I'm pretty happy about that. Well, I'm happy about the 800 revenue, not so much the 800 expenses. But, you know.
And then my one other question was just about the ACO and police intakes. Are those mostly strays, or are those mostly enforcement actions, or?
Most, I don't have the, well, I do. It's, you have that, it's on this sheet here. Well, it doesn't break down. I don't have the breakdown here, but it's mostly stray animals, but they do, okay, a person dies and they go into the house and they have a dog, they would bring the dog to us. Somebody's arrested, you know, in the car, and there's a dog in the car, or there was a high-speed chase recently, they had a dog in the car, they brought the dog to the shelter. But it's a little mix of both, but I don't have those numbers for you tonight, but I can get them for you. I can certainly-
Just curious,
Okay.
but no worries. Thank you so much, Doug.
So Doug, do you anticipate this year that the ask for the financing from Canyon City Municipality will be the same as the previous year, or what are you kind of
I
foreseeing?
sent that to you in August. So I don't know how much of a percent
Well,
increase.
yeah, Council's already approved the 2021, or
I'm
2022,
just-
sorry.
I
Thinking
think it was
just
like a
looking into the-
2% increase. It wasn't a lot. I really and truly don't ask for a lot of money. I understand where everybody is, but I don't. I think the national per capita average for animal shelters is like 585, and I think we're at like 380 something, so we're lower than that. But we're able to get the job done with that. So if we can get the job done, it doesn't make any sense for me to ask you for more money just because of a national average, you know?
And I was wondering if you've heard of the ERC credit. That's another credit from the federal government.
I have not.
And so if you, it's pretty complicated to fill out, but it's kind of like TurboTax. They help you fill out, you know, your tax forms. There's Turbo ERC.
Okay?
And there's a lot of businesses that are doing that. And that's if you were forced to shut down, and it also takes into account your staffing and staffing costs and things like that. And so there's some free credits that you can get through Turbo ERC.
So it's called Turbo DRC? ERC.
ERC. Mm-hmm.
Well, I will check that out first thing in the morning. Thank
We
you.
certainly appreciate all of your work
Yeah,
and everything that you do for our four-legged friends.
Yeah, you guys have one of the safest communities in the entire United States right here, and I'm pretty happy about that, so yay.
And don't forget that if you can show COVID impacts, even, you know, ongoing, I believe, you can, the county has a grant program.
And I heard that yesterday at the county meeting, and I applied for it as soon as I got back, so it's in.
Great.
Oh,
And
well
and the
done.
city has ARPA funds as well.
We do.
Yeah,
The city and county
that
both
would be
have
a
ARPA
writing a
funds.
letter to the city too, for a request for something specific.
Yeah, right now we're good. You know, something that happens at good at the, well, I don't want to say this is good. That was bad. I could have scratched that. But something happens at Shelter Lot is people pass, and we don't know that we're in their will until it shows up. You know, last year or something, somebody passed, and I want to say it was $57,000. And we're like, holy smokes, it saved the year. That just absolutely just saved the year for us right there. So you don't know if it happens. So right now, we're fine. You know, we're fine. We'll see where we are by the time we get into the fourth quarter of the year.
Awesome, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Well, don't leave before we get to say goodbye to Jasmine,
go
though,
ahead.
okay?
We'll say bye.
Thank you, Doug, and with
Yeah,
that,
I want to do a photo with
any other
Jasmine, for
questions?
sure.
And if we're going to do a photo, we'll just go ahead and adjourn and then take a break before the URA.
Thank you.